morning. Hey, everybody. Good morning, good morning. It's an exciting day for us. We're finishing one book and starting another, which is always fun. You're awake, Renee. Hi. How are you? Handling it all? Getting through all the schools and whatnot? Well, thank you so much for the likes. Hey, Lainey. What's up? What's up? What's up? Let's make some coffee. Let's read some books. It's gonna be great. The sun is shining right now, but it's supposed to rain later. Weird. Weird. Happy to see you, Lainey, always. How's Olivia and Tim? Are they good? I hope they're well. Lighting is beautiful through the blinds. Yeah, we have a nice little space. Hey, Imogen. We have a nice little space here. We get good light, which is nice. They're still sleeping. That's fair. See, your husband's sleeping as well, so that's par for the course. But, you know, we're rocking and rolling. Rocking and rolling. You're doing amazing. Thank you for bringing us so much positivity. Oh, thank you. That's a really kind thing to say. I appreciate that so much. And I'm glad that you like it. Try a new flavor today, you guys. Let's see what happens. It's a peanut and roasted sesame flavor. I don't know. I only got one sleeve of it because, like, I don't know if it's gonna be good or not. You know, I'm really picky about my coffee, but, like, I don't know. Can't hurt to try, right? Hello, Anya. So for anyone who didn't see the announcement, we are, we're going to finish one book today. We barely have probably 15 minutes of the last bit of this book. And then we're going to start a book we've been waiting for so freaking long, you guys. I'm so excited to start this new book today. So excited. Oh, I need to empty this. Yeah, I'm curious too, Lainey. Just give me a second to get these pods out of here so that I have space. Gotta recycle my pods, you know? It's the thing you do. You recycle your pods. Oop. Okay. So anyway, I'm very excited about this new book because it's like a combination suffragette and witches book, which, like, to me sounds like it's going to be absolutely fascinating. I've been waiting for this book since frickin' September. I'm so excited. Oh no, not head colds, Danny. I'm so sorry, but excited for the new book. So, like, it should be pretty cool. We don't have very much left of the Princess Diaries, so anyone who's been here for the Princess Diaries, we're going to finish that first. It really should be maybe like 15 minutes, and then we'll switch over, of course, to the new book. I can't believe we finally got it, you guys. I know I sound like a broken record when I say stuff like that, but like, morning, Jen. But like, we've literally been waiting 6 months, right? September, October, November, December, January, February. Well, it's not February yet, but we're not going to finish it this month. You know, was just added before you added milk to your coffee. Half and half? Or the no sugar creamer? Could be any of the above. Or are you talking about the powder? That was collagen powder. What is on my face? What kind of milk do you get that's sugar-free? Well, there's no such thing as like really sugar-free milk, but there's natural sugars in milk. There's just no added sugar. So if you look at the ingredients of it, there's no like added sugar to the milk. And as long as you don't have added sugars, it generally doesn't aggravate issues like the one I have. Baby's good, Maddie. Thank you for asking. Morning, Roxy. How are you feeling? I don't stay away from anything that naturally produces its own sugar. I just don't add sugar to anything. So like both half and half in milk don't they don't add, well, some do. Let me be frank with you. Some brands do add sugar to them, and that is not good for you. But like regular sugars that come in milk, there's like pretty much no way to escape that. No, Maddie. Maddie, let me be frank with you. Not to sound like a Debbie Downer, but no, I am not sleeping okay. I wake up every morning at like 2 a.m. and I'm up for like multiple hours because I just have to pee all the time. Maybe we'll be 6 pounds, 5 ounces, born at 6:30 on the 9th. Oh my gosh, the 9th would be too late, Mary. The doctor wants to induce us by the 5th, so she's definitely not going to make it to the 9th, unfortunately. But the 9th was her original due date way back in the day. That's the due date that I guesstimated for her. You know, you can be wrong, of course. All right, let's do it. My brother and dad are in pool camp and they have, what does that mean? Lost one? Right on the 6th. Okay, yeah. I mean, it's very possible that she comes on the 6th if we get induced on the 5th. Yes, that is possible. I hope it doesn't take that long because they're inducing us at like 6 a.m. if she doesn't come before then. Getting up and down hurts, so that makes sense. This is pretty good, actually. This sesame peanut whatever. I don't hate this. It's pretty nice. It's light. It's not overly flavored, and it's just a slight nutty flavor to it. Guys, I'm into it. Huh. You know what that means, right? If I'm into it, it means that they definitely discontinued it. Yeah. If I like it, they for sure discontinued it because that's what they do every time. If I like a new flavor, they don't make any more. 6 a.m. induced and then 2:25. Yeah, right. Seriously. I mean, Renee, you laugh, but you know it's true, right? Every time I love a flavor, they're like, nah, we're not going to make that one anymore. It's pretty funny, but this is good. If you guys have an espresso, grab one before they discontinue it on my behalf. Yeah, it's so true. And it, like, I'm always like, do you guys not want our money? Or like, the funny thing to me, yeah, you had it the next day. The funny thing to me is that like sometimes you'll go and like the flavors sell out really fast, and you're like, if the flavors are selling out so fast, you know that means people like them, right? Like, why would you stop making them? I don't know. We're reading the current book and then we're gonna finish it and switch to the other one. You can never find hazelnut? Really, Maddie? I feel like that's one of the most common ones. Am I crazy? I feel like they always have hazelnut, but I'm not gonna lie to you, I don't like the Nespresso hazelnut. I like hazelnuts in general. I like things that are made with hazelnuts, but I don't like the Nespresso hazelnut. I don't think it's good. But like regular hazelnut stuff, yes, of course. Interesting that you're having difficulty finding it. Okay, so just so everyone knows what's going on, in case anyone did not hear, they stopped making them because people like them. They have to try a bunch of new. I know, but the new ones are never as good, sloth. So we're at 82% on the Princess Diaries, but what we've learned is usually there's an excerpt at the end of it for the next book. So it's not really 82. It's more like there's like 2 little segments left of this book. So we're going to finish this book up real quick. And then I might close the live and start a new one so we have 2 clean cuts for the people who watch later so that they don't, you know what I mean? So if someone wants to just like finish one book and then start another one. I guess, Sloth, but like when I find a flavor I like, I just go hard on it and I put it on my monthly and I get a ton of it, you know? So I'm like, you're gonna get my money if you keep the flavors I like. I generally don't like try a lot of flavors in full sleeves. I usually go to the store and like test them. I just love your vibe. Thank you, Maddie. Have you read any Frida McFadden books? I've not. I have heard a lot about them, but I haven't actually read any yet, but I'm always open to suggestions for books. I read almost every genre. Not every genre, I don't want to say that, but almost. Good morning. Morning. So let's finish this book. We'll close the live really quickly so that we can have a clean cut, and then we'll start the next one because we, like I said, we barely have like 10 minutes of this one. We love a good easy read, Brianna, seriously. So let's just finish this real quick and then we'll talk about the new, seriously, Gigi, tell them that, yeah. The next book, you guys, I could not be more excited for it. So let's just go. All right. Even later on Friday, December 19th, still at the Winter Carnival. Well, I'm in the girls' room again, and I think that I can state with certainty this time that I am never coming out. No, I think I'll just stay in here until everyone else goes home. Only then will it be safe. Thank God I'm leaving the country tomorrow. Maybe by the time I get back, everyone in this little incident will have just forgotten about the situation. But I doubt it. Not with my luck, anyway. Why do these kinds of things always happen to me? I mean, seriously, what did I ever do to turn the gods against me? Why don't these things happen to Lana Weinberger? Why me? Why always me? All right, so I'll tell you what happened. I had no intention whatsoever of actually telling Michael anything. I mean, let me get that right out right away. I was only going along with it because Tina, well, it would have looked weird if I completely avoided the computer club's booth, right? Plus, Michael had asked me so many times to make sure that I stopped by, so there was no way that I could avoid this. But I never intended to say a word about you know what. I mean, like, Tina was just gonna have to learn to live with the disappointment. You don't love somebody for like as long as I've loved Michael and then just go up to him at the school fair and be like, oh yeah, by the way, I love you. Okay? You just don't do that. But whatever. So I went up to the stupid booth with Tina and everyone was all giggly and excited because their program was so popular and there was a really long line to see it. But Michael saw us and he was like, hey, come on up here. Like we were supposed to cut in line in front of all these other people. I mean, like we did it, of course, but everyone behind us grumbled. And honestly, who can blame them? I guess they'd been waiting a really long time. But I guess because of the thing the night before, you know, when I explained on national television that the only reason I'd done the clothing ad was because the designer was donating all the proceeds to Greenpeace, I've been noticeably more popular. Like positive comments so far today, 243. Negative, only 1, and it was from Lana, of course. So grumbling wasn't as bad as it could have been. Anyway, Michael was all, here, Mia, come here, sit at this one. And he pulled out a chair in front of this one computer monitor. So I sat down and I waited for the stupid thing to come on, and all around me, these other kids were laughing at what they were seeing on their screens. And I just sat thinking, for some reason, faint heart never won fair lady, which is stupid because number 1, I was not going to tell him I like him, and number 2, Michael is dark-haired and not fair, and number 3, he's not a lady either, obviously. And then I just heard Judith go, wait, what are you doing? And then I heard Michael say, no, it's okay, I have a special one for her. And then the screen in front of my eyes flickered. I sighed. Okay, I thought, here goes the stupid teacher thing because you have to be sure to laugh at it so that they think you like it. So I was sitting there. And I was actually kind of depressed because I really didn't have anything to look forward to. Like, if you think about it, I mean, everybody else was excited because later on they're going to the dance, but no one's even asked me to the dance, not even my supposed boyfriend. So I didn't even have that to look forward to. And everyone else knew that I knew was going skiing or going to the Bahamas or wherever they go for winter break. But what did I have to do? Oh, hang out with a bunch of members of the Genovian Olive Growers Society. So I'm so sure they're very nice people, but like literally, come on. And before I even leave for my boring trip to Genovia, I have to break up with Kenny, something I totally don't want to do, but I like him. I don't want to hurt his feelings, but I sort of have to hurt his feelings. Although I have to say the fact that he still hasn't so much as mentioned the dance is making the idea of breaking up with him a lot less heinous. Then tomorrow, I thought, I'll leave for Europe. I'll be on a plane with Dad and Grandma, who still aren't speaking to one another, and since I'm not speaking to Grandma either, this is going to be a really fun flight. And when I come back, knowing my luck, Michael and Judith will already be engaged. And that is when I was sitting there thinking, that's what I was sitting there thinking when the split second of the screen flickered in front of me. That, and I was also thinking I'm not really in the mood to see my teachers in funny outfits at this moment. And only when the flickering stopped, that's not what I saw. What I saw instead was a castle. Seriously, it was like a castle, like out of Knights of the Round Table or like Beauty and the Beast or whatever. And the picture zoomed in until we were over the castle walls and inside the courtyard, and there was a garden. And in the garden, all of these big fat red roses were blooming, and some of the roses had lost their petals and you could really see them lying on the courtyard floor. It was honestly really pretty. And I was like, hey, this is way cooler than I thought it would be. And I sort of forgot that I was sitting there in front of a computer monitor at the Winter Carnival with 24 people all around me, and I began to feel like I was actually in that garden. And then this banner waved across the screen in front of the roses, like it was blowing in the wind. The banner had some words written on it in gold leaf, and when it stopped flapping, I could read what the words said. Roses are red, violets are blue. You may not know it, but I love you too. He knows she wrote the cards. Okay, sorry. Breaking character, terrible. Okay. I screamed and I jumped out of my chair and I tipped it over behind me, and everyone started laughing. I guess they thought I'd seen Principal Gupta in her leather cat suit. Only Michael knew I had it. Only Michael wasn't laughing. And I couldn't look at Michael. I couldn't look anywhere except really at my own feet because I couldn't believe what had just happened. I mean, I couldn't process it. What did it mean? Did it mean that Michael knew that I was the one who had been sending him those notes and he felt the same all the way along? Or did it mean that he knew I was the one that was sending him the notes and he was trying to like get back at me with some kind of joke? I don't know. All I knew was that if I didn't get out of there, I was going to start crying, and like in front of everyone in the entire school. So I grabbed Tina by the arm and I yanked her hard after me. And I guess I was figuring that I would tell her what I'd seen and maybe she'd be able to figure out what it meant, since I sure couldn't. But Tina shrieked. I must have grabbed her harder than I thought, and I heard Michael call it, Mia! But I just kept going, lugging Tina behind me and pushing through the crowd, thinking only one thing: you must get to the girls' room. You must get to the girls' room before you start bawling your head off. Somebody with about as much force as I grabbed Tina grabbed me. And at first I thought it was Michael. I knew if I so much looked at him, I'd burst into big baby sobs. So I said, get off. And I jerked my arm away, but it was Kenny. And Kenny said, but Mia, I have to talk to you. Not now, Kenny, Tina said. But Kenny was totally inflexible, and he went, yeah, now. And you could tell from his face that he meant it. And Tina rolled her eyes and she backed off, and I stood there with my back to the computer club booth, and I prayed, please don't come over here. Please don't come over here, Michael. Please stay where you are. Please, 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 please don't come over here. Mia, Kenny said, and he looked more uncomfortable than I'd ever seen him. And I've seen Kenny look plenty uncomfortable. He's like an awkward kind of guy, but he said, I just want to, I just want you to know, well, that I know. I stared at him. I had no idea what he was talking about. And seriously, I'd forgotten about the hug that he'd seen in the hallway, the one that I gave Michael. And all I could think was, please don't come over here, Michael. Please don't come over here, Michael. Look, Kenny, I said, I don't even know how I got my tongue to work in that moment. I swear I felt like a robot and someone had switched me to the off position, but I continued, this isn't really a good time. Like, maybe we could talk later. Mia, Kenny said, and he had this funny look on his face. I know. I saw him. I blinked, and then I remembered Michael and the B- hug. Oh, Kenny, I said, really, it was just, there's nothing, you don't have to worry about it, Kenny said, and then I realized why his face looked so funny. It was because he was wearing an expression that I had never seen before. At least, I'd never seen it on Kenny before. The expression was resignation. I won't tell Lily. Lily? Oh God, that's the last person in the world I wanted to know how I felt about Michael. And maybe it wasn't too late. Maybe there was still a chance that I could, but no, I couldn't lie to him. For once in my life, I could not summon up even one lie. Kenny, I said, I'm so sorry. And I didn't realize until I said it that it was too late to run for the girls' room. I had already started crying. My voice broke, and then I put my hands to my face and they came away wet. Great. I was crying in front of the entire student body of Albert Einstein High School. Kenny, I said, sniffling, I meant to tell you, and I really do like you. I don't love you. Kenny's face was very white, but he didn't start crying. No, not like me, thank God. In fact, he even managed to smile in that weird little resigned way that he has, and he shook his head. Wow, I can't believe it. When it first hit me, I was like, no way, not Mia. No way she would do that to her best friend, but I guess it does explain a lot about, us. I couldn't look him in the face any longer. I felt like a worm, worse than a worm, because worms are environmentally helpful. I felt like a fruit fly. I guess I suspected it for a long time, like that there was someone else. Kenny went on. You never really seemed to return my ardor when we, I knew. Kissed. It was nice of him bringing it up, though, here in the gym in front of everyone. I knew you were just not saying anything because you didn't want to hurt my feelings, Kenny said, because that's the kind of girl you are, and that's why I put off asking you to the dance, Kenny admitted, because I figured you'd just say no on account of how, you like someone else. I mean, I know you'd never lie to me, Mia, because you're the most honest person I've ever met. Ha! Was he joking? Me? Honest? Obviously, he did not have the slightest clue about my nostril giveaway. That's how I know how much this must be tearing you up inside. I just think you better tell Lily soon, Kenny said somberly. And I started to suspect, at the restaurant, and I figured it out, and if I did, other people will too, and you wouldn't want her to hear it from somebody else. I reached up and tried to wipe away some of my tears with my sleeve, then I paused with my hand only halfway there and stared at him and said, "Restaurant? What restaurant?" Kenny said, looking uncomfortable. "The day we all went to Chinatown and you sat next to each other and you kept laughing and you all looked pretty chummy." Chinatown? But Michael hadn't gone with us to Chinatown that day. "And Kenny said, I'm not the only one who's noticed him leaving all those roses in your locker this week either." I blinked. I could barely see him through my tears. "What?" He looked around, dropping his voice to a whisper. "Boris. Leaving you all those roses? I mean, come on, Mia. If you two want to carry on behind Lily's back, that's one thing, but..." The roaring in my ears that had been there after I read Michael's poem came rushing back. Boris Pulowski? My boyfriend just broke up with me because he thinks I'm having an affair with Boris Pulowski. Boris Pulowski, who has food in his braces. Boris Pulowski, who wears his sweaters tucked into his pants. Boris Pulowski, who is my best friend's boyfriend. Oh my God, my life is so totally over. I tried to tell him, the truth, that Boris is not my secret lover, but he's my secret snowflake. But Tina darted forward, grabbed me by the arm and went, "Sorry, Kenny, Mia has to go now." And then she dragged me into the girls' room. "No, I have to tell him," I kept saying over and over again like a crazy person as I tried to break free of her grip. I have to tell him the truth." "No, you do not," Tina said, pushing past me to the toilet stalls. "You two are broken up. Who cares why? You're through, and that's all that matters." And I blinked at my tear-stained reflection in the mirror above the sink, looking awful. Never in your life have you seen anyone who looked less like a princess than I did just then. Looking at myself made me break out into a new wave of fresh tears. And of course, Tina says she'll make sure that Michael wasn't trying to make fun of me. And of course, she says that he must have figured out that I was the one who was sending him those cards and trying to let me know that he felt the same way about me. But of course, I can't believe that, because if that were true, why did he let me go? Why didn't he try to stop me? Tina's pointed out that he did try to stop me, but in my shrieking when I read his poem and then running with tears out of the room might not have seemed very encouraging as a sign to him, she says. In fact, it might have looked to him like I was displeased with what I'd seen. And furthermore, Tina pointed out, even if Michael had tried to go after me, there had been Kenny cornering me on my way out, and it certainly looked as if the two of us were having a moment, which, we most certainly were, and we didn't wish to be disturbed. All of which could be true, but it could also be true that Michael had been joking. It was a very mean joke under the circumstances. Michael doesn't know that I adore him with every fiber of my being. Michael doesn't know that I've been in love with him all my life, and Michael doesn't know that without him I will never, ever achieve self-actualization. I mean, to Michael, I'm just his kid sister's best friend, and he probably didn't mean to be cruel. He probably just thought he was being funny. It isn't even that my life is over, but I am never, ever leaving this bathroom. I'll just wait until everyone's gone, and then I'll sneak out, and no one will see me again until next semester starts, which by the time, hopefully, all of this will have blown over. Or better yet, maybe I'll just move to Genovia. I mean, yeah, hey, honestly, why not?
Yikes. Big yikes. Big yikes.
Oops. That didn't go as planned at all. Friday, December 19th, 5 p.m., the loft. I don't know why people can't just leave me alone. Seriously, I might be done with finals, but I do still have a lot to do. I have to pack, don't I? Don't people know that when you're leaving for your royal introduction to the people that you will one day reign over, you have a lot of packing to do? But no, people kept on calling me, emailing me, coming over. I know, Sloth, it's very funny. But, well, I'm not talking to anybody. I think I've made that perfectly clear. I'm not speaking to Lily or Tina or my dad or Mr. Gianni or my mother, and especially not Michael, even though At last count, he had called 4 times. I'm way too busy to talk to anybody. And with my headphones on, I can't even hear them pounding on the door. It's kind of nice, I have to say. Friday, December 19th, 5:30 p.m. on the fire escape. People have a right to their privacy. If I want to go into my room and lock the door and not come out or have to deal with anyone, I should have the right to do that. People should not be allowed to take the hinges off my door and remove it. That is completely unfair. But I have found a way to foil them. I am out on the fire escape. It is about 30 degrees out here and snowing, but by the way, guess what? So far, no one's followed me out here. Fortunately, I bought one of those pens that's also a flashlight so I can still see to write. The sun went down a while ago, and I have to admit my butt is honestly freezing, but it's sort of nice out here. All you can hear is the hiss of the snow as it lands on the metal of the fire escape, the occasional siren or car alarm. It's kind of restful in a way. And you know what I'm finding out? I need a rest, like big time. Really, I need to go and like lie on a beach somewhere or something like that. There's a nice beach in Genovia, really with like white sands, palm trees, the whole bit. Too bad while I'm there, I'm never gonna have time to visit since I'm gonna be too busy christening battleships or whatever. But hey, if I lived in Genovia, you know, like moved there and lived there full time. Oh, I mean, I'll miss my mom, of course. I've already considered that. She leaned out the window about 20 times already, begging me to come inside or at least put a coat on. My mom's a nice lady. I really will miss her. But she can come visit me in Genovia, at least up until she's 8 months, and then air travel might be a little risky. But she can come after my baby brother or sister are born. It would be like nice. And Mr. G, he's okay too. He just leaned out and asked if I wanted the 4-alarm chili he just made. He left out the meat, he said, just for me. That was really nice of him. He can come visit me in Genovia too. It'll be nice to live there. I can hang out with my dad all the time. He's not such a bad guy either, once you get to know him. He wants me to come in off the fire escape too. I guess my mom must have called him. He says he's really proud of me on a con of the press conference and my B- in algebra and all that, and he wants to take me out to dinner to celebrate. And we can go to the Zen Palette, he says. It's totally a vegetarian restaurant. Isn't that really nice of him? Too bad he let Lars take my door down, or I might have gone with him. Ronnie, our next door neighbor, just looked out her window and saw me, and now she wants to know what I'm doing sitting on the fire escape in December. And I told her I needed some privacy, and this appears to be the only way that I can get it. And Ronnie went, oh, honey, don't I know how that is? And she said I was going to freeze without a coat on, though, and she offered me her mink, and I politely declined because I could not wear the skin of a dead animal. And she said she'd loan me her electric blanket instead, which she's plugged into the outlet beneath her air conditioner. I must say, this is a total improvement. Ronnie's getting ready to go out. It's nice to watch her put on makeup. She does it. As she does it, she keeps running through the conversation with me via her open window. She asked me if I was having trouble at school and if that's why I'm out on the fire escape, and I said, yeah, I was. And she asked what kind, and I told her that I'm being persecuted, that I'm in love with my best friend's brother, but to him, it's apparently this really big joke. Also, that apparently everyone thinks I'm having an affair with a mouth-breathing violinist who happens to be my best friend's boyfriend. And Ronnie shook her head, and she said it was good to know that things haven't changed since she was in high school, and she says she knows what it's like to be persecuted because Ronnie used to be a man. So I told Ronnie that it doesn't really matter because I'm moving to Genovia, and Ronnie said that she was sorry to hear that and that she'll miss me, and that I really have improved conditions in the apartment building's incinerator room since I insisted on installing separate recycling bins for newspapers and cans and bottles. I'm sorry, you guys. I didn't mean to break to laugh. So that is the best send-off of you've improved our building I've ever heard. Sorry. I don't usually break, you guys. This chapter is just really funny. Okay, it's fine. It's fine. Sorry. And then Ronnie said she has to go because she's meeting her boyfriend for cocktails at the Carlisle. And she said I could keep using the electric blanket, though, as long as I remember to return it when I'm done. God, even my next door neighbor who used to be a man has a boyfriend. What's wrong with me? Uh-oh, I hear footsteps in my room. Who's coming now? Friday, December 19th, 7:30 p.m. Well, you could knock me over with a feather. Guess who just came out onto the fire escape and sat with me here for half an hour? Grandmere. I'm not even kidding. I was sitting here feeling all depressed when all of a sudden this big furry sleeve appeared out my window, and then a foot in a high-heeled shoe, and then a big blonde head. And the next thing I knew, Grandmere was sitting there blinking at me from all depths of her fur-length chinchilla. Amelia, she said in her no-nonsense tone, what are you doing out here? It's snowing. Please do come back inside. I was shocked. Shocked that Grandmere would even consider coming out onto the fire escape. It's an indelicate thing for a princess to mention, but there actually is a lot of bird poop out here. But also that she would even dare to speak to me after what she did. But she addressed the issue right away. I understand that you're upset with me, she said, and you have every right to be. But I want you to know that what I did for you. Oh, right. Even though I swore I was never going to speak to her again, I couldn't help myself in that moment. Grandmere, how can you possibly say that? You completely humiliated me. I didn't mean to humiliate you, Grandmere said. I meant to show you that you're just as pretty as all those girls in the magazines that you're always wishing to look like. It's important that you know you're not a hideous creature that you apparently think you are. Grandmere, I said, that's nice of you and all, I guess, but you really shouldn't have done it that way. What other way could I have done it? Grandmere demanded. You will not pose for any of the magazines that have offered to send photographers, not Vogue or Harper's Bazaar. Don't you understand what Sebastiano said about your bone structure really is true? You really are quite beautiful, Amelia. If only you would just have more confidence in yourself. Show off once in a while. Think how quickly that boy would like you if you would leave that, and he would leave that housefly girl for you yourself. Fruit fly, I said. And Grandmere, I told you, Michael likes her because she's really smart. And they have a lot of stuff in common, like computers. It has nothing to do with how she looks. Oh, Mia, Grandmere said, don't be naive. Poor Grandmere. It really wasn't fair to blame her because she comes from such a different world. In Grandmere's world, women are valued for being great beauties, or if they aren't great beauties, they're revered for dressing impeccably. What they do, what they like, what they do for a living, all isn't important because most of them don't do anything. Or like maybe they do some charity work, but whatever, that's like totally it. Grandmere doesn't understand, of course, that today being a great beauty doesn't account for much. Oh, sure, it matters in Hollywood, of course, and on the runways in Milan. But nowadays, people understand that perfect looks are the result of DNA, something that a person has nothing to do with. It's not like some great accomplishment being beautiful. It's just genetics. No matter what matters today is what you do with the brain that's behind those perfect blue or brown eyes or green or like whatever. In Grandmere's day, a girl like Judith who could clone fruit flies would be viewed as a piteous freak unless she managed to clone fruit flies and look stunning in Dior at the same time. Even in this remarkably enlightened age, girls like Judith still don't get as much attention as girls like Lana, which like isn't fair since cloning fruit flies is probably way more important than having totally perfect hair. The really pathetic people are the ones like me. I can't clone fruit flies, and I have bad hair. But that's okay. I'm used to it by now. Grandmere's the one who still needs convincing that I am a completely hopeless case. Look, Grandmere said. No, sorry, wrong. Look, I said to Grandmere. I told you, Michael's not the type of guy who's going to be impressed because I'm in the Sunday Times supplement in a strapless ball gown. And that's why I like him. If he were the kind of guy who was impressed by stuff like that, I wouldn't want anything to do with him. Grandmere didn't look very convinced. Well, she said, perhaps you and I must agree to disagree. In any case, Amelia, I came over to apologize. I never meant to distress you. I only meant to show you what you can do if only you would try. She spread her gloved hands apart. And look how well I succeeded. Why, you planned and executed an entire press conference all on your own. I couldn't help smiling a little at that one. Yeah, I said, I did. And, Grandmere said, I understand that you also passed algebra. I grinned wider. Yeah, I did. Now, Grandmere said, there's only one thing left for you to do. I nodded. I know. I've been thinking a lot about it, and I think it might be best if I extend my stay in Genovia. Like, maybe I could just live there from now on. What do you think about me living in Genovia? Grandmere's expression I could see in the light coming from my room was one of disbelief. Live in Genovia? For once I caught her off guard. What on earth are you talking about? You know, I said, they have schools there. I could just finish 9th grade there, and then maybe I could go off to one of those Swiss boarding schools that you're always going on about. Grandmere just stared at me. You would hate it. No, I said, it might be fun. No boys, right? That would be great. I mean, like, I'm kind of sick of boys right now anyway. Grandmere shook her head. But your friends, your mother. Well, I said reasonably, they could always come to visit. And then Grandmere's face hardened. She peered at me from between the heavily mascaraed slits that had become her eyes. Amelia, Mionette, Grimaldi, Rinaldo, she said, you're running away from something, aren't you? I shook my head innocently. No, Grandmere, I said. Really, I would just like to live in Genovia. It would be so totally neat. Neat? Grandmere stood up, and her high heels went through the slits in the metal bars of the fire escape, but she didn't notice. She pointed imperiously at my window. "You get inside right now," she ordered in a voice that she'd never used with me before. I have to admit I was startled. I didn't know exactly what to say. I unplugged Ronnie's electric blanket and crawled back into my room, and then I stood there while Grandmere crawled back in too. "You," she said when she'd straightened out her skirt, "are a princess of the royal house of Ronaldo. A princess," she said, going to my closet and rifling through it, "does not shirk her responsibilities, nor does she run at the first sign of adversity." Grandmere, I said, "what happened today was hardly the first sign of adversity. Like, okay, what happened today was the last straw. I can't take it anymore, Grandmere. I am getting out." And Grandmere pulled from my closet the dress that Sebastiano had designed for me to wear to the dance. You know, the one that was supposed to make Michael forget that I'm his little sister's best friend. "Nonsense," Grandmere said, and that was all. Just nonsense. And she stood there tapping her toe and staring at me. "Grandmere," I said, and maybe it was the time I'd spent outside, or maybe it was that I was pretty sure my mom and Mr. G and my dad were all in the next room listening, because how could they not be listening? There was no door or anything to separate me from the living room anymore. "You don't understand," I said. "I can't go back out there." "All the more reason that you must," Grandmere said. "No," I said. "First of all, I don't even have a date to the dance, okay? And P.S. only losers go to dances without dates." "You are not a loser, Amelia," Grandmere said. "You're a princess, and princesses do not run away when things become difficult. They throw their shoulders back, and they face what disaster awaits them head on, bravely and without complaint." I said, "Hello? We're not talking about marauding Visigoths, okay, Grandmere? We're talking about an entire high school that seems to think I am in love with Boris Pulowski." "Which is precisely," Grandmere said, "why you must show them that it doesn't matter to you what they think." "Why can't I show them that it doesn't matter by not going?" "Because that," Grandmere said, "is the cowardly way. And you, Mia, as you have shown amply this past week, are not a coward, so please now get dressed." I don't know why I did what she said. Maybe it was because somewhere deep inside I knew that for once Grandmere was right, or maybe it was because secretly, I guess, I was just a little curious to see what would happen. But I think the real reason was because for the first time in my entire life, Grandmere didn't call me Amelia. She called me Mia. And because of my stupid sentimentalism, I'm in a car right now, going back to the stupid crappy Albert Einstein High School, the dust from which I thought I'd managed to shake permanently from my feet not just 4 hours ago. But no, oh no, I'm going back in the stupid velvet party dress that Sebastiano designed for me. I'm going back with no date. I'm going back, and I will probably be ridiculed for being the dateless biological freak that I am. I am, however, a princess, and apparently that means I am expected to take whatever is dished out at me, no matter how cruel, unfair, or undeserved it might be. And regardless of what happens, I can always comfort myself with the knowledge of one thing. Tomorrow I will be 1,000 miles away from all of this. Oh God. Okay, we're here. I think I'm going to be sick. Saturday, December 20th, on the Royal Genovian jet. When I was about to turn 6 years old, all I wanted for my birthday was a cat. I didn't care what kind of cat, I just wanted one. I wanted a cat of my very own, and we'd been to visit my mom's parents at the farm in Indiana, and they had a lot of cats, and one of them had kittens, a little fluffy orange and white kitten, which purred loudly when I held it under my chin, and it curled up to this inside of the bib of my overalls, and it would take naps. More than anything in the world, I wanted to keep one of those kittens. I should mention at the time I had a thumb sucking problem, and my mom had tried everything to get me to stop sucking my thumb, including buying me a Barbie. And in spite of her fundamental stance against Barbies and all that she stands for, as like sort of a bribe, she got it anyway, but nothing worked. So when I started whining to her about wanting a kitten, my mom came up with a plan, and she told me she would get me a kitten for my birthday if I quit sucking my thumb, which I did immediately. I wanted a cat that badly. Yet, as my birthday rolled around, I had my doubts that my mother would live up to her end of the bargain. For one, at the age of 6, I knew that my mom wasn't the most responsible person. Why was our electricity always being turned off? And about half the time I'd show up at school wearing a skirt and pants because my mother let me decide what to wear. So I wasn't sure she'd remember about the kitten, or if she did remember, that she'd even know where to get one. So as you can imagine, when the morning of my 6th birthday rolled around, I wasn't holding out much hope. But when my mother came into my bedroom holding this tiny ball of yellow and white fur and plopped it onto my chest, I looked into Louie's eyes. He didn't become Fat Louie until about 20 pounds later. And this was also before his eyes turned green, so they were blue at the time. And I knew a joy such as this had never existed in my life before, and never did I expect it to exist again. That is, until last night. I'm totally serious. Last night was the best night of my entire life. After the whole fiasco with Sebastiano and the photos, I thought I would never feel anything like gratitude towards Grammy ever again, but she was so right to make me go to the dance. I'm so glad that I went back to Albert Einstein, the best, loveliest school in the whole country, if not even the whole world. Okay, look, here's what happened. Lars and I pulled up in front of the school. There's twinkling white lights on all the windows, and I guess they're supposed to represent like icicles or whatever. I don't know. I was sure that I was going to throw up, and I mentioned this to Lars, and he said that I couldn't possibly throw up because to his knowledge, I hadn't eaten anything since the Entenmann's cake way before lunch, and that was probably all digested by now. And with that piece of encouraging information, he escorted me up the steps into the school, and there were masses of people teeming all around, and the coat check in front of the entrance. Lars checked our coats while I stood there waiting for someone to come up and ask me what I was doing without a date. All that happened, however, was that Lily and Boris and Tina and Dave descended upon me and started acting all nice and said how happy they were that I had come. Tina told me later that she'd already explained to everyone that Kenny and I had broken up, although she hadn't told them why, thank God. So, fortified by my friends, I went into the gym, which was all decorated wintry with cutout paper snowflakes and one of those disco balls and fake snow everywhere, and I must say, it looked a lot whiter and cleaner than the snow was starting to pile up outside. There were tons of people there. I saw Lana and Josh, Justin Baxendale with his usual flock of adoring fans, and Shamika and Ling Su and a bunch of other people. Even Kenny was there, though when he saw me, he turned bright red and turned around and started talking to this girl from our bio class. Oh well. Everyone was there, except the one person I've been dreading most, or like hoping to see. I really don't know which. And then I saw Judith Gershner, and she had changed out of her overalls, and she looked quite pretty in this red Laura Ashley kind of dress. But she wasn't dancing with Michael. She was dancing with some boy I'd never seen before. So I looked around for Lily, and when I finally spotted her using one of the payphones, I went up to her and I said, "Where's your brother?" And Lily hung up the phone and said, "How should I know?" she demanded. "It's not my turn to babysit him." Oddly, comforted by her demeanor, which simply proved that no matter how weird things are, other things never change, Lily always stayed the same. So I said, "Well, Judith Gershner's here, so I just figured..." "Oh, for God's sake," Lily said. "How many times do I have to tell you? Michael and Judith are not going out." And I went, "Oh, right. All right. Well, why have they spent every waking moment together for the past 2 weeks?" "Because they were working on the stupid computer program for the carnival," she said. "Besides, Judith Gershner already has a boyfriend." Lily grabbed me by the shoulders and turned me around so I could see Judith on the dance floor. "He goes to Trinity." I looked at Judith Gershner as she slow danced with a boy who honestly looked a lot like Kenny, but older and not as uncoordinated. "Oh," I said. "Oh is right," Lily said. "I don't know what's wrong with you today, but I can't deal with you when you're acting like such a freak, so sit down right here." She pulled out a chair, "And don't you dare get up. I want to know where to find you when I need to find you." I didn't even ask Lily why she might need to find me, so I just sat down, and I felt like I couldn't stand up anymore. I was literally that tired. It wasn't that I was disappointed. I mean, I didn't want to see Michael. At least part of me didn't want to see him, but the other part of me really did want to see him, and I just wanted to ask him what he meant by that poem, but I was really sort of afraid of the answer. But it might be not the answer that I was hoping that it would be, and after a while, Lars and Wahim came and sat down next to me. I felt like a complete tool. I mean, I was sitting there at a dance with two bodyguards who were deep in a conversation about the advantages versus disadvantages of rubber bullets. Nobody was asking me to dance. Nobody would either. I mean, a huge, colossal loser sitting right here, a huge, colossal loser without a date, who, by the way, is supposedly in love with Boris Pulowski. Why was I even staying? Why had I done what Granmere said? I showed up. I'd proven that I wasn't a coward. Why can't I just leave? I mean, like, if I wanted to leave. So I stood up and I said to Lars, "Come on, we've been here long enough. I still have a lot of packing to do. Let's go." And Lars said okay, and he started to get up, and then he stopped. And I saw he was looking at something behind me, so I turned around, and there was Michael. He'd obviously just gotten there. He was out of breath, and his bow tie wasn't tied, and there was still snow in his hair. "I didn't think you were coming," he said, and I knew my face had gone as red as Judith Gershner's dress, but there wasn't anything I could do about that, and I said, "Yeah, I mean, I almost didn't." And he said, "I called you a bunch of times, only, like, you wouldn't come to the phone." "I know," I said. I was wishing that the floor of the gym would open up like It's a Wonderful Life and I'd fall into the pool underneath and drowned and not have to have this conversation. "Mia," he said, "with that thing today, like, I didn't mean to make you cry." Or the floor would open up and I could just fall and keep falling forever and ever, and that would be okay too. And I stared at the floor, willing it to crack apart and swallow me up. "No, it didn't," I lied. I mean, it wasn't that. It was just like something that Kenny said. "Yeah," Michael said. "Well, I heard you two broke up."
Yeah, probably by now the whole school had heard that. Now I knew my face was redder than Judith Gershner's dress. The thing is, Michael went on, I knew it was you who was leaving those cards. If he had reached inside my chest and pulled down my heart and flung it to the floor and kicked it across the room, it could not possibly have hurt as much as hearing that. I could feel my eyes filling up with tears all over again. You did? You know, it's one thing to have your heart broken, but it's another to have it happen at the school dance in front of everyone. That is just harsh. Yeah, of course I did, he said, sounding kind of impatient. Lily told me. For the first time, I looked up into his face. Lily told you? I cried. How did she know? He waved his hand. I don't know. Your friend Tina told her, I guess, but like, that's not important. I looked around the gym and I saw Lily and Tina on the far side, both staring in my direction. And when they looked at me, they turned around really fast and pretended to be deeply absorbed in a conversation with their dates. I am going to kill them, I murmured. And Michael reached out and grabbed both of my shoulders. Mia, he said, giving me a little shake. It doesn't matter. What matters is that I meant what I wrote about you, and I thought you meant what you wrote about me too. I didn't think I could have heard him right, and I went, of course I meant it. And he shook his head. Well, then why did you freak out like that at the carnival today? And I stammered, well, but because I thought you were making fun of me. Never, he said. And then that's when he did it. No fuss, no asking my permission, no hesitation whatsoever. He just leaned down and kissed me right on the lips. And I found out right then that Tina was right. It isn't gross if it's a guy you're in love with. In fact, it's the nicest thing in the whole world. And you know what the best part is? I mean, aside from the fact that Michael being in love with me and having kept it a secret almost as long as I have, if not longer, and Lily knowing all along but not saying anything up until a few days ago because she found it an interesting social experiment to see how long it would take us to figure out on our own. A long time, it turns out. And the fact that Michael's going to Columbia next year, which is only a few subway stops away, so I'll still be able to see him as much as I want. Oh, and Lana walked by while we were kissing, and she goes in this disgusting voice, oh my God, get a room, would you please? And then I was slow dancing with him all night long until Lily finally came up and said, come on, you guys, it's snowing so hot. If we don't leave now, we're never going to get home. And kissing goodnight outside the stoop of my loft with the snow falling all around us and grumpy Lars complaining that he was getting cold. No, that's not the best part. The best part is we moved right into Frenching without any trouble at all. Tina was right. It all seems perfectly natural. And now the Genovian royal flight attendant says we have to put away our tray tables for takeoff, so I have to quit writing for a minute. Dad says if I don't stop talking about Michael, he's going to sit up front with the pilot for the flight instead of with me. And Grandma says she can't get over the change in me. She says I seem taller. And you know, maybe I am taller. She thinks it's because I'm wearing another one of Sebastiano's original creations designed just for me. Just like the dress that was supposed to make Michael see me as more than his little sister's best friend. Except it turns out he did that anyway. But I know it's not that. And it isn't love either. Well, like, not entirely. I can tell you what this is. It's self-actualization. Well, that and the fact that it turns out that I really am a princess after all, because guess what? I am living happily ever after. Aww. So cute. So cute. That's adorable. Okay, that was a little bit longer than I thought it was going to be, but I'm glad we got to finish it. I am going to close this live so that we have a clean cut, and then I will start the next one because it's hard to cut an hour's worth of footage, you know? It doesn't like cut well ever. So I'm just going to close this live really quickly, and then I'll start up the next one and we can do the next one. So I'll literally just come back in 2 seconds, guys. I'll be right back.